Did you see what Bitcoin just did? Did you take a look at this chart right here? You see what Bitcoin is about to do with this chart right here as you zoom in on this candle right here. This is getting serious. Things are heating up and we could be showing some major warning signs. Warning signs so big that we haven't shown these types of warning signs since the COVID crash. You remember the COVID crash, you wanted nothing to do with it. It was fierce, it was swift, it was horrific. And right now we're flashing some warning signs that we haven't shown since then. What I'm gonna do in this video is give my honest take. I'm going to give my honest opinion on how we should be handling these warning signs in the chart. Should we be selling everything and buying back when it goes lower? Or is there a possibility, some small chance that Bitcoin could actually rise out of this and surprise everybody? We're going to cover that take as well, just based on the facts in the charts. Not what I hope to happen or what might happen, just reading the charts as the facts, no BS, straight to the point, and that's what we're going to do in this video. If you're new here, my name is Steve. I started in the stock market a little over 20 years ago, back when I was just 16 years old. I've been covering crypto since back in 2017, and for the past 10 years, I've been traveling around the world as my own boss. Hit that subscribe button, and we are going to help you use your crypto to become financially free. We're jumping straight into this chart right here. We've got a lot of charts to cover, but I want you to peel your eyes to this red line right here. Now notice, we're on the 3-day chart. This is the 200 MA on the 3-day chart. This red line is historic. If we zoom out and we look at this red line, Bitcoin has reacted the same exact way every time we came down to touch this line. Back in 2018, back in 2020, and even if we go all the way back to the early days of 2014, we also reacted the same exact way to this specific red line. And it's kind of like a fortune telling. It tells us how we reacted before, and history has been repeating itself literally since 2014. So for the past 8 years, Bitcoin has reacted the same exact way with this red line. And it just so happens that we're on this red line right now, showing some very, very intense warning signs that I need to bring to your attention so that you can make sound decisions for yourself and your financial future. So in order to do that, we've got to understand better what's happening, why it's happening, and what you should do. 2014, red line. As we've started our top, and again, nobody in the world knew that this was the top, but we look for signs in the charts, we look for things happening and patterns playing out, and we see that we came down to touch this red line. We held support. Then we started holding some resistance, and at that point, it really pushed us down into a horrific crash that took many, many, many months to recover. And then we finally got above this red line, held it as support here, and that's when we went on our next bull run. So this red line was the line of showing major weakness, big crash, as well as major support, big bull run. Now, if we look forward to 2018, let's see if those same signs emerge, right? 2018, we had our top, we came down, and we were holding this red line as support for quite a while, right? You can see it started back in this candle in August, and you can see we held it all through this time period here. These two candles are pivotal, and pay attention to what's happening. I want you to really take a mental screenshot because I'm about to show you what's happening present day with this red line. You can see these two candles closing below this red line. And again, not as resistance, but the body was closing below. This was a warning sign. And then we actually broke, this was our first body here on October 28th that we actually held as resistance. And then we got some resistance here, and then it pushed us down to here. This is where things get interesting because again, it took us a very long time to recover, but we looked no further until we held this red line as support here, and then we bounced up to that 14K area. And then it brings us to the COVID crash. The COVID crash here was pretty devastating. That's when we were actually below this red line as resistance the most recent time. We literally have not been below this red line since the COVID crash. You can see that we came out of this COVID crash, we held some support, and that was our sign that we're in our next bull run. Plain and simple, this red line has a lot of power. It told us, hey, COVID crash over. Say goodbye, sayonara. It's time for us to go back on our next bull run. And again, remain level-headed. All of these markets moves in cycles, and our channel focuses on these bigger moves. That's where you're either going to make all your money or lose all your money. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date. So our next major bull run happened, and we were far away from this red line. We wanted nothing to do with it, but we kept inching a little bit closer to this red line until we actually touched it back here in January. And we've been showing you this red line since then, alongside some other charts that we're about to show you with our monthly close, the Gaussian channel, and also our MACD cross. We're going to show you a few charts, but again, we started showing some warning signs back here at the beginning of the year. Why? Because if you just look at the history, it's never ended well if we've come to touch this red line. We touched it once in 2018, didn't end well. We touched it in 2020, didn't end well. We touched it in 2014, didn't end well. So one theory is, hey, we don't want to touch the red line. When we do, it doesn't end well. It's a warning sign. It's foreshadowing of what's to come. But it really starts to unfold when we break the red line, something that we're about to do. Now, I want to dig into this further, but we need to paint a clear picture of what's happening. And I want to give my honest take of what's happening in this situation and what I believe is going to happen when it plays out. And then again, what you should be doing right now. But in order to do that, we've got to get a clearer picture. We talked about this red line, first time since the COVID crash. What does that mean? First time since the COVID crash of holding this red line as resistance. We're not there yet, and we're going to talk about what's going to happen over the next handful of days, but just look at the chart. We haven't been below this line since the COVID crash. That's a fact. Now, let's look at this. We have got our MACD on the monthly chart. We just had a monthly cross, right? We covered it right here on our channel way back in January. What we notice is we've only had 3 other ones in history. These MACD crosses are major. By the way, the last one we had was right by the COVID crash. What happens with each one of these is very interesting. And this is what we've been covering on our channel is we have these major MACD crosses. What the market does right after is back in 2018, it went on a 50% rally right after this MACD cross. And then it crashed. So it got the market really excited. Everybody was like, that's right. This is the bull run. It's going back to the moon. And then it crashed. Bitcoin likes to surprise everybody. And if you can start to understand these bigger moves, you're going to have a lot more success in the market and you'll get a lot closer to that financial freedom. 2019, same thing. We had a MACD cross for only the 3rd time in history. And then we had a 65% rally. Everybody got super excited. And then a mega crash. So it was that same formula that we looked at for 2022. So this year, when we had our MACD cross back in January, we said, hey, just be prepared for a pretty large rally and then probably a mega crash. Nothing is certain in charts, but we can go back in history to look at these major moves, and that's what we cover on our channel. That's why you just hit the subscribe button. So we had a 40% rally, and now we're ready for our mega crash, which we're going to talk about right now on this channel. So again, we were ready for a rally, and now we're ready for that rally to stall. You know, people are still pretty bullish. They're pretty excited that we're going up substantially more. But just looking at the facts, this has only happened a few other times. And so far, it's happened precisely as the other ones have. And we look no further to the Gaussian channel. This is something that on our channel is kind of our secret weapon. And how do we know when this market turmoil is over? When we change from red to green. All right. If we look in our history, when we change from red back to green, that's when the bull run starts to happen again. From red to green, that's when the bull run starts to happen again. So we're really waiting and focusing on this change from red to green. That's when it's going to tell us, hey, this turmoil that we've been in, this fear, everybody's scared, it's going to be over when we change from red to green. But first we have to deal with some turmoil, because when we change from green to red and get rejected from this median line, that spells devastation. And we look back here, we changed from green to red, we got rejected from this median line. It was pretty ugly. And again, go back to 2014, changed from green to red, got rejected from this median line, it ended ugly. So we still have some turmoil according to these big picture charts. There's still some more turmoil to come, and then we'll be in the clear and we'll be able to start our next bull run. So we're going to keep you up to date every step of the way. But here's what I would like to continue talking about. With the Gaussian channel, we talked about back here in May of last year. We talked about, hey, we just entered the Gaussian channel. Usually on average, we hang out there for about 1 year, and usually it's not very fun. And that was just going based on the facts and the charts. And you can go back to all the videos where people are like, Steve, you're crazy. There's no way. But we've been covering these kind of markets for so long. We just avoid all the emotional decisions. We just talk about the facts and the charts, and you can take it as you wish. But here we are 1 year later, and we're still in the Gaussian channel. So it's time to pay attention to these bigger charts with these larger time frames, and especially the ones that nobody's talking about. This chart is saying we've got a little bit more turmoil to deal with, but we're going to really be waiting to see that red to green to let us know that the turmoil is over. Now we're going to this monthly close. I want to talk about the monthly close, and then we're going to get right back to this red line and talk about what we believe is going to happen and give our predictions. So monthly candle. This is something that's going to close in a few days from now. At the end of the month, we're going to close this monthly candle. And as we said in a past video, we do not want to close as resistance to this blue line. We don't want it. It hasn't happened in years, and it's just about to happen in about 4 or 5 days from now. The only thing to really take us away from having this horrific close is for us to close above 47K. That's what would have to happen in order to avoid this. Otherwise, this is going to be the first time in years since we've closed below this blue line. So that's pretty major. It's major stuff happening. You know, we had our top at this red line, we had some support at this blue line, and then we just couldn't hold this green line as support, and we broke through, and now we're really struggling with this blue line. And again, if we break this blue line, it's highly probable we're going to fall all the way to this yellow line, because that's what happened literally every time in history. We fall into this yellow line, and sometimes we fall to this yellow line for quite a while. So if we take next month, for example, the yellow line is at about 32. But again, keep in mind, we can wick down quite a bit as we did here. We wicked down about 50%. So it's just something to pay attention to with this monthly close. Now let's get back to this red line. This red line, as we zoom in, you can see that we are getting close to closing our candle. What would need to happen is price needs to stay about where it is now, and we need to close here to avoid what is potentially inevitable. What's looking like right now is we're really starting to struggle with this red line. And keep in mind, we've been on this red line pretty much all year, and we've been bouncing off of this red line. We had a high and then came back down to this red line. And then we had our pretty much our double top. We came back down to this red line, and then we created our first higher high. People are getting excited about this higher high. We came right back to this red line, but now we're showing some weakness with our past couple candles. What we don't want to happen is the full body to close below. If it does, things usually fall quickly once we fall below this red line. And you can look at any point in history to tell you that anytime you actually close below here, it gets pretty ugly pretty quickly. So luckily for us, this entire candle year, we haven't done that yet, but we're getting close. What would need to happen if you want it to close below this red line? We would have to close below 40K. So in the next couple days, we would need to close this candle below 40K. It would be our first candle since the COVID crash that we've done so, and probably the floodgates would open a little bit. So now, how should we interpret this? In the big picture, we might have some turmoil coming over the next handful of months, but it's going to present the best buying opportunity of your life. All right, that's the positive way to look at it. And actually, that's the actual truth. What people want you to do is they want you to be so fearful that you capitulate. You give up all of your stuff and you sell everything, and you greedy, you wait until to time the bottom. But nobody ever times the bottom. So I highly recommend you do not do that. That's what a lot of beginner traders that have a couple years of experience, they're like, oh, here's my bright idea. I'm going to sell right now, and then I'm going to buy when we go down here. But that's when you start to try to time the market. That's when you get super greedy. That's when you make really emotional decisions that are not following an actual strategy. So what should you do? You should focus right now on these facts in the charts. And when we show signs of weakness, closing below here, going below our monthly close here, going below the Gaussian channel, actually closing below, and we haven't closed below the Gaussian channel yet. When we show those kind of signs, that's when I want you to really focus on when you're going to buy more Bitcoin. Now, I know most people will say, oh, this is when you should sell. That's historically the worst time to sell. You never want to sell when you're in the golden zone. What's the golden zone? It's this box right here. That's when you want to buy. And if you look, that was the best buying opportunity of your life back here. That was your best buying opportunity of your life here, both of which we covered right here on this channel. And then this one as well. So basically, anytime you're in this box, you want to think about buying, not selling. So that's kind of the big picture. But if you remain level-headed, things are going to be just fine. Either Bitcoin's going to spit out one of its best buying buying opportunities of your entire life, or we're going to try to create a new all-time high. The only way we would ever be able to do that is closing above 47K. So that monthly candle here, and as well that 47K will get you back above this median line, something that we haven't done all year. That's literally the only thing that would happen for us to start to change our tune. And you may say, hey Steve, I've been watching your videos all year, they've been pretty bearish. And we read the market as it is. I don't tell you what you want to hear. You don't come to me to tell you what you want to hear. You come to me to tell you the truth and the facts. That's why you respect our channel. That's why you just subscribed. So the facts are, we have some turmoil ahead, and it's highly unlikely we avoid it unless we somehow get above 47K, which is unlikely at the moment. Until then, we cannot talk about any bullishness in the market because there is none. Those are the facts. Hit the subscribe button. I'll see you right back here on the next video. There's only one question left: when to sell your cryptocurrency. Click right here, right now to find the 3 simple steps.